On the news tonight, federal government arranges 3 suspects on terrorism charges over Oyo school abduction. Political parties embraces peace ahead of Osun governorship poll. A pleasant good evening to you and welcome to the 7 p.m. news commentary from your heritage station. I am Fatima Hassan. Thank you for joining us today. The federal government has filed a 10-count terrorism charge before the Federal High Court in Abuja against Abdulrazak Umar, Yunusa Musa, and Shamsu Adamusani over the abduction of pupils, students, and teachers of Oriwe Community High School in Oyo State. A statement by the DSS says the suspects conspired to kidnap the victims, facilitated the abduction, concealed information about the operation, and failed to alert security agencies, despite allegedly having prior knowledge of the plot. Prosecutors further alleged that the 3 men are members of Darus Salam, said to be an affiliate of the proscribed terrorist group, Ansaru, contrary to the provisions of the Terrorism Act 2022. The federal government also accused Abdulrazak Umar of providing terrorist training through a WhatsApp platform and engaging in illegal gold mining in Niger State. The charges include terrorism, conspiracy, kidnapping, concealment of terrorist activities, unlawful membership of a terrorist organization, cybercrime-related offenses, and illegal mining. The prosecution is expected to test the federal government's resolve to ensure that those responsible for attacks on schools and acts of terrorism are brought to justice. Meanwhile, school kidnappings have become one of Nigeria's most disturbing security challenges, turning classrooms into targets and leaving families traumatized. But weeks after of uncertainty following the abduction of the principal, teachers, students, and pupils of Oriwe School in Ogbomosho, Oyo State, a painstaking rescue operation by the Nigerian Police Force and other security agencies brought victims back home safely. At the force headquarters in Abuja, the Inspector General of Police, Olatunji Rilwan Disu, formally received and honored the operatives, whose courage made the rescue possible. Francis Fong report. To strengthen local manufacturing and increase confidence in made-in-Nigerian products and services, the Minister of State for Industry, Senator John Owan Eno, has launched the Digital Standards Platform, a unified online gateway providing easy access to verified Nigerian industrial standards. Developed through a collaboration between the Bureau of Public Procurement and the platform, is expected to promote quality assurance and enhance competitiveness of Nigerian goods. Ekene Ndule has the report.
Following Federal Executive Council's approval of the Nigeria First policy in May last year, concerns were raised by procurement experts over the quality and standard of products available in the Nigerian market. The launch of the Digital Standards Platform, the Minister of State for Industry says, is designed to address those concerns by ensuring that only standard-compliant made-in-Nigeria goods, works and services are procured for government projects.
For too long, the access to Nigerian standards, the access to conformity assessment service and compliance information, has always required time, travel, and paperwork. So I believe that the digital standard platform dismantles all such barriers.
The chief executives of SON and BPP explained that the platform is integrated with the BPP's e-marketplace, enabling procuring entities to verify compliance, compare products, and benchmark prices.
From today, the Nigerian industry standards, compliance tools, conformity assessment services, and standards-related resources are available digitally, searchable, accessible, and verifiable without the barriers of distance, queues, or paperwork.
So what BPP and SON is doing is to raise the quality of what we are producing in Nigeria by ensuring that all companies, all suppliers are duly registered and confirmed that their products meet the global standard.
With the platform now operational, stakeholders are encouraging contractors, manufacturers and suppliers to certify and list their products, taking advantage of the increased visibility and access to government procurement opportunities. In Abuja, Ekene Ndulwe, NTA News.
Nigeria's vast inland waterways have long been identified as a variable alternative to easing pressure on the nation's congested road network. Yet, despite their enormous potential, they remain largely underutilized due to infrastructure deficits and safety concerns. The National Inland Waterways Authority says it is taking steps to change that. Awal Yusuf reports.
For a country with more than 10,000 kilometers of navigable inland waterways, water transportation remains one of Nigeria's most underutilized modes of moving people and goods. Experts say unlocking its potential could reduce pressure on highways, lower logistics costs, and boost economic activities. It is against this backdrop that the chairman of the board of the National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA, led members of the newly inaugurated board on an inspection of the Lagos area office, where he reaffirmed the authority's commitment to repositioning inland water transportation in line with the federal government's renewed hope agenda.
If we are able to transport food and livestock and people, by water, that will bring down the cost of foods, and that will bring down the cost of a lot of services and so on. So our determination is to make sure that water transportation becomes one of the most important transportation we're going to have in this country.
They say plans are also underway to improve safety on the waterways through the replacement of aging boats with modern vessels, enhanced training for personnel, and stronger enforcement of water transport regulations.
Once we remove all these rickety boats on our waterways, new ones are provided. We believe that people will move across easily. With these initiatives, we want to see free movement of goods and services on the waterways.
They are going to give us so many patrol boats. They are going to give us vehicles for our day-to-day activities. So we have gotten the best.
Beyond supporting trade and transportation, the Lagos waterways provide an efficient alternative to the state's heavily congested road network, helping to improve mobility and emergency response. In Lagos, Awal Yusuf Jibo, NTA News.
We'll be going on a commercial break. Please stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for rejoining us. Political parties participating in the August 15 Osun governorship election have signed a peace and accountability charter making a commitment to promoting issue-based campaigns and fostering a peaceful electoral process before, during and after the poll. Kayode Oladosho reports that the charter was signed at a summit held in Osogbo. His report.
One after another, representatives of the political parties stepped forward to append their signatures to the Peace and Accountability Charter, publicly committing themselves to peaceful conduct and compliance with the Electoral Act. The convener of the summit, the Osun Development Association, believes that strict adherence to the charter would strengthen political confidence ahead of the August 15 governorship election.
Development cannot flourish without democratic stability, and democratic stability cannot endure without civic accountability.
Let candidates tell us how they will beg, because rigid leaders break, and how they will list.
Stakeholders at the summit urged governorship candidates not to use intimidation, vote buying, or violence to promote voter apathy.
It is not merely a choice of candidates or political parties. It is also a choice between peace and violence, between peace and a secured environment.
No political ambition is worth the blood of any citizen, and no office is more valuable than the life of a single man, woman, or child.
The theme of the Peace Accord is Speak, Choose, Hold Accountable. Citizens at the center of Osun democracy. In Osogbo, Kayode Oladoshu, NTA News.
Forget everything you thought you knew about who takes drug. Now we are asking the other question, not who is using but why and where it truly begins. From the womb to the classroom, Good Morning Nigeria is tracing Nigeria's drug crisis back to its roots, and the answers might hit closer home than you think. Let's get more from the panel discussion on Good Morning Nigeria. Lydia Sampson reports.
Gaston Good Morning Nigeria noted an 8-year-old growing up where drugs circulate is already at risk. While for some, predisposition is hereditary, and some children are born dependent after prenatal exposure, continuing a cycle they never choose. Add peer pressure and developing tolerance, and childhood becomes fertile ground for addiction.
The parents have to prioritize the issues. The first point of attack is the home. Once the home is destroyed, the child is already open to anything.
One of the challenges we have is that we do not understand that there's a genetic predisposition for some people to take drugs. We also have people who have mental issues who now want to escape the side effects of those drugs.
They reiterate that the old assumption that only the homeless or dysfunctional abuse drugs is dangerously outdated. Nigeria, the guests emphasize, is no longer just a transit route. It consumes and manufactures drugs, often using everyday chemicals in makeshift home labs.
Now, because of a lot of factors right now, a lot of parents don't have the energy or the space to have those kind of meaningful conversations.
Our effort should be geared towards prevention, so that market should not be there. If the market is not there, if nobody is demanding for it, they will look for elsewhere to market their product. So that's why we have a lot to do as parents, as critical stakeholders, as family, as community leaders, as faith-based organizations, as religious leaders. In schools, we have a lot to do. Take it from the parents. The family is the first line of defense that any child should.
Teachers, poorly motivated and untrained, struggle to spot warning signs. But the deeper wound they stress is parenting that teaches survival, not emotional processing, breeding shame culture, stereotyping failure instead of nurturing it. The experts point to high-functioning depression and unprocessed generational trauma born from parents who never had childhoods themselves. They insist NBC must confront musicians glamorizing drug use. Purposeful parenting to change the narrative, the guest noted, isn't optional, it is sacrosanct. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Can technology help correctional centers become safer while giving inmates a better chance at rehabilitation? That is the question correctional leaders from across Africa are exploring in Abuja. Victor Azor reports on the regional conference on prisoner classification and the use of technology in prison settings. His report.
Not every inmate poses the same risk. That is why correctional experts say understanding who is in custody is just as important as keeping them there. This conference is exploring how technology can strengthen security, support rehabilitation, and improve decision-making in correctional systems.
The effectiveness of any modern correctional system depends not only on its ability to provide safe custody, but also on its capacity to understand the diverse risks, needs, and rehabilitation prospects of those committed to its care.
Technology will never replace man, but technology is your catalyst to speed up your rate of reaction. If you deploy the best of technology, you must also put in the best of investment in training human capacity.
For the African Correctional Services Association and the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, technology works best when it supports professional officers, protects human rights, and prepares inmates for successful reintegration.
Technology should never replace human interaction. It cannot be a simple bandage over systemic gaps like overcrowding and constraints or staff shortages.
When we properly integrate technology now, we can strengthen correctional administration by improving efficiency, accountability, and evidence-based decision-making.
The hope is that ideas shared in Abuja will help build correctional systems that protect society while giving offenders a better chance to return to it. Victor Azu, NTA News.
That is our English news for this week. Join us next week for more interesting stories. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye.